All right, welcome back. My next guest, well, he's a veteran of these markets, and we were honored when he announced on our show last week the creation of his own ETF. He called it Fitz, right? Pretty appropriate, I would say. Well, since then, we've had some meaningful movement on the on Iran and the Straits of Hormuz, and we also had Kevin Hassett, the director of the National Economic Council, talking about growth. And he talked about GDP as well. And he said he believed 6% was on the table a couple of weeks ago. Well, he was pressed on that again today and basically doubled down, right? He points to a boom in AI and a boom from the one big, beautiful bill and the reshoring of a lot of businesses back to the U.S. He mentioned a lot of stuff to be excited about. So listening to him talk about the markets makes you think that maybe we're on the cusp of something pretty significant here in the States. Now, let's get my next guest on to give us his thoughts on all that stuff. Please welcome to the show Mr. Keith Fitz-Gerald, the aptly named ETF Fitz. Thank you very much for coming on, brother. Listening to Kevin Hassett talk, it's hard not to put a smile on your face. I just got off. We just had Eddie Gabor on. I think you know who Eddie is.
Yeah,
he's
great guy.
Excited. I'm excited. Are you excited?
I am. Well, Eddie's a very smart guy. Here's the thing that's going to blow a lot of people's minds, Scott. I actually think that Hassett might be conservative. It might be considerably higher than 6%.
What?
Yes.
That's amazing. Okay. Then please explain.
I figured that was going to be the next question. So here's the deal, right? If you think back to the 90s, right? You think back to the 90s, we saw the same thing when microcomputers is what they called it, PCs came on the scene. Everybody says, well, we have the computers, where's the productivity? We had this tremendous lag. Well, that kind of information worked its way into the system. Then once it did, all of the government statistics, which are notoriously Stone Age in a world that operates at silicon speed, caught up. I think we're dealing with that now. When we first started talking about AI, we were talking about 1-to-1 multiplier, 1-to-5 multiplier. I think this year we may get 10-to-20. We might even be higher than that within 5 years. So using that logic, assuming history is true with regard to penicillin, the internet, computers, steam, distributed generation, all of those things are in fact going to make AI now at 6%, I think potentially even far higher.
All right, I'm going to say something kind of controversial. Maybe not. Maybe you'll agree with me. But, seeing how excited I am about what's coming, it sounds like you are. Eddie Gabor was as well. Even Seth, we had him on earlier, too. Maybe, just maybe, this Iran war and the Straits of Hormuz and the problem with oil. You know how you have a governor on your car, it keeps you from going too fast, right? Remember the old days, you put a governor.
Yep.
Do you think that the Iran war could be kind of a governor on the market, giving everybody a chance to get on board before that governor goes away?
Well, it's funny because there's a lifelong gearhead. I totally understand that expression because I've taken many a governor out of a car just to get more performance for the racetrack, for example. Right. First thing you do. Yes, I do think that's a very apt analogy because it's not a sort of a restriction on oil. It's not a restriction on anything else, but confidence and liquidity. And so if you view those two things as a governor, when you get that out of the way, then I do think there's an awful lot of money that's looking for a home. It wants to grow. The infrastructure, the AIs, the NVIDIA, the AMDs, all of that stuff's in place right now. As those continue to blossom and the governor comes off, I think it's natural that you're going to feed the engine more gas and we go to the races. Now, downside of that is it's going to increase volatility radically because all that money's got to find a home and reprice risk. But there is no more exciting moment in human history as far as I'm concerned.
Again, and so my question, one of my last questions will be this. It just seems like people are afraid of being excited. What's the shoe? When's the next shoe going to drop? When is this? Do you understand? So, we're not getting our bang for the buck on good news at Tesla or bang for the buck with our good news with NVIDIA because people are so reticent to dive in. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that's normal because periods of great change often come with very controversial feelings. And if you look at social sentiment at every other great transition in recorded human history, you just read through the newspapers of the time, read through the documents of the time, there is always controversy, there is always fear, there is always uncertainty, and there's always doubt because things get rebuilt in ways that we don't yet understand. So, for example, if you'd walked into a Grange 110 years ago and said 98% of you in the room out of 100 are going to be out of agriculture within 100 years, you would have been laughed out of the room. I think we're dealing with much of that today. The confidence just isn't there because people fear the unknown. But again, if you trust the system, if you look at what the unknown tends to produce, which is progress and innovation, then I submit there's another side of the coin that's worth looking at.
Awesome stuff. I mean, I own NVIDIA just so it's out there, but I own a few other ones, Tesla as well. We don't talk about those. We talk about those a lot, but I mean, I want you to give me an update. I haven't heard a lot of Palantir come out of your mouth lately. What's going on with Palantir?
Well, I think it's one of those situations where the naysayers and negative Nellies have just latched onto the stock. And I think it's I won't dare say being manipulated, but I would not be surprised if there was a serious investigation and that was found to be the case. I think it's, the numbers are great. The multiples are great. The customers are great. The increasing revenue is great. The growth is great. You've got customers who line up just around the block to talk about all the great things that software does. It is only a matter of time before all of that nonsense gets pushed to the sidelines, investors restore confidence, and they move ahead. The markets are forward-looking. So it's important, in my opinion, to have the long-term perspective that gets you through the short-term noise. I'm content to see it at lower prices because it means I get to swoop in and buy more shares if I'm smart enough.
Right, you're exactly right. And so, like I said earlier, when we get these results from these big-time tech companies and they knock the ball out of the park, but they don't react, and sometimes they even perversely go lower, even on the back of the fact you might see 10 or 15 advisors, ratchet up their expectation for the stock price, and it still goes lower. You have to look at it exactly the way you just did. That's an opportunity for you to let the governor put some more money in your pocket, so when they do finally take the governor off, you're going to be rewarded, right?
Bingo. And I'll tell you why. Because patience and discipline are actually the two most undervalued assets in the market today.
And they're both pretty difficult. That's why, patience is a virtue, right? So you have to learn how to do that because you know what? When you nail it, when you get them nailed down, they actually start to pay off, right?
Yeah, very clear. History's very clear on that.
All right, brother. Always great to have you come on. Really love it. Congratulations on the ETF, Fitz.
Thank you, boss.
Can't wait to see how well that does. But you get a lot of great comments here from people writing in. Thanks very much, Keith Fitz-Gerald.